Back when I was in the first grade, I was one of several kids from our class who got to be on Bozo the Clown's television show. Now, I know that these days, many of us feel like the whole country is on Bozo the Clown's television. But back then, the country was less jaded and more rational. 2 moments from that day are etched in my memory. One is a shattering glimpse of Bozo smoking a cigarette with his nose off before the show. You think those American Horror Story clowns are disturbing? Try processing that at age 6. The other memory is of Bozo leaping into the bleachers with a microphone, commanding a friend and me to stand. Lights glared and cameras moved in as Bozo spoke to us. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Bozo asked. I told him I wanted to be a center fielder and a cowboy. Yes, both. Baseball does have an off-season. The other boy said a doctor. "You've got a long ladder to climb," Bozo told him. We didn't know it then, but Bozo had revealed to us one of the fundamental realities of American life, the vertical structuring of education and work. We're all supposed to pick a career, train for it, and then climb its ladder, narrowing our focus and eliminating options all along the way. I dutifully followed this roadmap all the way through high school and then college. But as my graduation from Northwestern approached in the spring of 1975, I was filled with doubts and apprehension. All I could see in front of me was a huge vertical flow chart administered by forces beyond my control. My task would be to find a way in and then struggle up the rungs, finally exiting at age 65 or 70 with a gold watch and a pat on the back. To me, this seemed like a long, boring, and predictable slog to nowhere. On the other hand, the wide open possibilities of horizontal living seemed filled with the promise of adventure and enlightenment. I had spent the 16 years since that Bozo show mostly confined to classrooms. Real life wisdom was out there in the wider world, and I was eager to search for it. While I was mulling over my options before graduation, I received an unexpected job offer. Cub reporter for the Chicago Tribune's suburban edition based in nearby Deerfield. Now this was an opportunity that most journalism grads like me would have killed for. Spend 3 or 4 years covering local issues and politics, show that you had the chops, and then get called up to the big club, the Chicago Tribune itself. Here was my future all mapped out and presented on a platter. Family, friends, and fellow students congratulated me. Everyone assumed I was on my way. I should have been doing backflips. Instead, I was filled with dread. Did I really want to spend the next 4 years working out of a drab strip mall office in Deerfield, Illinois, reporting and writing stories about, well, Deerfield shit? Everything inside of me cried out, no. Not just no, but hell no. This was resistance boiled down to its essence. 2 days after receiving the job offer, I called the managing editor and politely declined. Most of my friends were stunned. What the hell was I thinking? I had no real plan, but my goals were clear. To travel and to learn about the world and my place in it. To go horizontal instead of vertical. To live outside of the flow chart. With a stake of $800 saved from various school and summer jobs, I set off on a three-month hitchhiking trek across the country. By relying on my thumb and sleeping bag, I was able to stretch that money through 20 states and Jamaica. You go a long way in Jamaica. Yeah. Very good. The journey yielded an amazing wealth of highs and lows. There were ecstatic sunsets viewed from mountaintops and desperate moments in deserted downtown wastelands. I saw sights I'd only dreamed of and tasted foods I'd never heard of and other things. I felt a spontaneity and intensity of living that I'd read about in the works of Kerouac and Steinbeck, but I'd never experienced before firsthand. My perspective kept broadening as I met and talked with a rainbow of humanity. Mid-career types seemed to view me with a mixture of envy and enmity. Some told me they wished they'd tried what I was doing, but there was resentment as well. I wasn't playing by the rules, they felt, and I was wasting my college education. What if everyone bucked the system like you? One businessman asked me. How would society function? Well, he had a point, but so did a Jamaican sandal maker who asked me, why do you Americans rush it handle the time on? Why do you need so many possessions to be happy? By summer's end, I was back in Evanston and nearly broke. Living on the road, I filled a thick notebook with insights and observations I never would have gained covering city council meetings in Deerfield. But now, financial and social pressures began to take hold. After a few weeks of spinning my wheels, I panicked, and I interviewed for a corporate communications job in downtown Chicago. The department head, seated behind a massive oak desk, leaned back in his chair to examine my thin resume. He tossed it down on the desk and slowly lit his pipe. Yes, this was the 70s, and smoking pipes inside was still a thing. Exhaling a puff of Prince Albert, he asked me to explain the 4-month gap between graduation and my current job-seeking status. I told him about my travels. He was not impressed. This gap looks really bad on your resume, he said, frowning. You can't just quit the Y and then come back for a shower. It was clear there was no slot for me on his staff. For the next 2 years, I managed to support myself off the flow chart. Among other things, I worked as a dishwasher, a waiter, a truck unloader, and a towboat deckhand. Each job brought a new set of experiences in contact with different types of people. Each also provided its own unique form of education. Waiting tables proved to be a crash course in food, wine, improvisation, and human relations. Unloading trucks gave me entree to all kinds of back rooms that few people ever see. And it packed 10 pounds of new muscle on my arms and shoulders. Even washing dishes had untold value, according to Stavros, the Greek cook I worked with. Just think, Timmy, he said, wherever you go, whenever you need a job, you can always wash dish. I think I learned the most, though, from working as a deckhand. The job involved wiring together and breaking apart 50 barge tows that the boat pushed up and down the Mississippi River from St. Louis all the way to New Orleans. The work was hard and physically draining, but the rewards included good pay, all the food you could eat, and the chance to see the river from a unique perspective. Never has my 16-year education felt as useless as it did on day one on that boat. The first mate, who had worked 22 years on the river, took me out on the barges that morning. Get y'all some toothpicks and tie them up on the port side wires at the head, he commanded, spitting tobacco juice at my feet. Toothpicks? I inquired. He rolled his eyes in exasperation, muttered something profane about college, and stalked off. Such lessons in humility were frequent on the river. Avoiding mistakes also took on a new meaning. Making a mistake at an office job might get you a reprimand, but a blunder on the barges could result in serious injury. The veterans were fond of telling descriptive tales of such mishaps, especially during meals. One time, a cable snapped and hit a deckhand upside the head, crew member recounted. Knocked out one of his eyeballs. Thing rolled around the deck like a marble. Say, pass me that plate of deviled eggs, would you, son? Entering my 3rd year of flowchart resistance, I wrote a few stories about my work and travel experiences and mailed them off to various magazines. Most of these garnered quick rejection slips. But then one day I got a phone call from the editor of a travel magazine. I'd sent her an article about hopping freight trains. We really like this, she said. She not only bought the piece, she wanted to meet me. Well, one thing led to another, and just a few weeks later, I was offered a full-time job as a staff writer. This time, without too much hesitation, I said yes. And so I found myself embarking on a career after all, but a career that promised the breadth and the variety I'd been seeking all along. Looking back now, I can't say that I entirely escaped the snares of the vertical flow chart. I don't even know if that's possible. I even put in some corporate time. But I've never really stopped resisting those boxes and ladders. And I've managed to snag my share of memorable adventures along the way. Two of them are worth noting here, and both resulted from magazine story assignments that I finagled. For one, I spent a week at the LA Dodgers fantasy baseball camp in Vero Beach, Florida. I played center field, I batted .400, and I got to meet and hang out with several baseball legends. For another piece, I joined a cattle drive in Montana. I slept under the stars, I ate meals from a chuck wagon, I learned how to rope, and I rode a wonderful horse named Fudd. So I got to be a baseball player and a cowboy after all. I like to think that somewhere Bozo is smiling.